As I look around this exposed bedrock, and then I see this chunk of concrete, I realize that this creek hasn't been in a natural state for over 100 years. A century. A century where the structure was envisioned and likely acted like a functioning piece of infrastructure for a lot of years, and then started to fall apart and no longer function, but remained an intrusion on the life cycles, the life histories of steelhead. And within a couple weeks, it will be wiped of that assault. This is Little Arthur Creek, which is a tributary to Yubas Creek, which blends into the Pajaro River, which then moves to the Pacific Ocean in the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Part of the South Central Coast steelhead recovery area for threatened steelhead.
In the Pajaro River, Little Arthur Creek is one of the crown jewels for steelhead. It's some of the best habitat that remains. But here this old dam is sort of at the bottom of the watershed, so it blocks a lot of the good habitat.
Time flies, but it was in 2019 that I was introduced to this project. And over that time, we worked with the Resources Legacy Fund to develop concept proposals, and then Department of Fish and Wildlife on a second grant to come up with 100% design and structural and geotechnical aspects. And now with the Santa Clara Valley Water District called Valley Water, which executed a partnership agreement with Trout Unlimited, providing us the full budget to manage to get this whole artifact of concrete and metal out of the channel so that this can become what originally seemed to have been a boulder cascade bedrock expression of a creek.
It's just a benefit to the natural system processes where we don't have an impediment for not just fish, but the gravel, the wood that could go downstream and create its own habitat better than we could through building a project. It's reinstating a more natural system.
Valley Water's mission is ecological stewardship, and so being able to partner with a grassroots organization like Trout Unlimited is a huge win for us. Trout Unlimited was really able to work with the private landowner, work with the Amah Mutsun tribe, and California Department of Fish and Wildlife and National Marine Fisheries Service to really forge ahead with the initial idea for removal of the dam and then the design that was necessary to kind of get to the point where Valley Water could step in and utilize our expertise in the environmental permitting and planning process. We actually were able to use our programmatic permits, our stream maintenance program permits, to move forward with this project in a very quick manner. And so I think that we both brought things to the table that contributed to the success of this multi-benefit project.
Little Arthur Creek is what we consider a cultural landscape. This whole corridor, this valley, if you will, it's connected by trade routes, by indigenous village sites. It's not only significant because we think this is probably the first dam that's been removed in Mutsun territory, that the tribe has had a role and a say in how it was going to go, but the findings from our surveys that were done were directly included into the broader plan. And so, like a cool example of that, near the dam, there's these cultural resources called bedrock mortars, which you can think of them like ancient blenders, if you will, where native people would put all types of food and plant materials to process things. So we know the presence of some of those around here. So that was kind of our goal, was to identify those and then protect them.
Our creation story tells us that we have the responsibility to take care of Mother Nature and all living things. We look at all species as being our relatives, the trees, the plants, the birds, the fish. But now, when I look at this river, I recognize that our finned relatives are going to be able to fulfill that journey that their ancestors did for thousands and thousands of years.
The other part is we have to ensure, especially the perennial headwater streams, have flow that's protected, or in some case, if we can, enhance the flow.
We're up here in the part of Little Arthur Creek that typically flows all summer long, right? So this is where the steelhead are and over the summer. And so the thing about this geography is it actually rains. There's actually plenty of water year-round for fish and people both. It's just that it all falls in the wet season, 6 months in the wintertime. So we figured out that if we came up here and put water tanks in at half a dozen or so of the residences that really had wells right along the creek, we could really make a difference. And so that's what you're seeing behind me here. This is a project. We have 30,000 gallons of water in these tanks. And we have an agreement with the landowner where they, in exchange for us building these tanks, they agreed not to pump from the creek for at least 20 years. They've got a secure water supply. We've got a flowing creek. It's really a win-win situation. So we've had this great collaboration with Valley Water over the years. When we first came to them over 10 years ago now with a tank project idea, it was early days for those kind of projects. No one had really done anything like that in this part of California, and we knew that the permitting was going to be complex, and you had to know about water rights and things like that, and it was really an untested idea, but they were really supportive, and the seed money they gave us early on to be able to get those projects off the ground and do the planning and build the first couple tanks was crucial, and that allowed us to establish the whole program and attract additional funding and complete the whole set of tanks up there. So that was a really valuable addition to the project, and that's really sustained us over the years.
Only way I can do my work, it's relationships with property owners and trust and confidence of our agency partners who through the years have grown to trust Trout Unlimited. And Trout Unlimited gives us the time it takes to cultivate those relationships and work through a long project to get to a result like this.
Having the right people, knowing who to bring into the team to help work on a project, to help them feel comfortable, to move forward with the project, bringing Tim out here was key.
Because we're doing this project, we're keeping that creek alive. Because we're taking underflow that would not be available to it. Just hold this one, submerged about like that.
Our work with Trout Unlimited has been incredible. They have their contemporary science, but we have our indigenous science. And whenever we combine those together, we can work to restore what was here in a really unique and successful fashion.
The one we want to look at is the DO milligrams per liter. DO, there's 2 for DO, so it's dissolved oxygen.
The other thing that stood out to me was just the openness to having a holistic perspective about including everything that's considered a tribal resource, not just the archaeological sites or resources you might think of, but the plants, the animals, and the water.
The life history has actually evolved. The science tells us evolved down at the southern end of the range here where the conditions are really harsh. And that's why with climate change, it's actually really important to save habitats like this. I mean, some people will say, oh my God, with climate, is the southern end of the range really going to survive? Should we write them off? And it's really important that we don't, because this is where the genetics are that are really important to preserve. To be resilient over the long term, we really need to preserve these really hardy fish that have figured out how to survive in places like this and preserve those genetics, because that's what's going to save the species in the long run.
These animals have learned how to persist in these drying environments. And it's these cool perennial headwater portions of the watershed, which is one of the saving graces and one of the reasons you can be optimistic about recovering steelhead in the Central Coast. Steelhead fishing is a part of my family's DNA, I think. I've got a picture of my dad when he was 40 years old holding a male steelhead that he caught on a Mendocino stream. And when I was 40 years old, I had a friend of mine take a picture of me hefting a large steelhead that I know that I hooked within 20 feet of where my dad caught that fish. I don't know what it is about the dedication of time and the blending of your casting and your thought to the water, the observations you make, the optimism, and the persistence and durability that it takes to be on the water to eventually hook a fish. What a beauty. But it feels ingrained.
Yo.
I'll never fish in Little Arthur Creek, but I will be as happy observing fish digging a red in this stream as I would be hooking that fish on the Big Sur River with my wife last year. Well, this is where the dam was. If we can restore creeks, we can restore steelhead. That's what we did here. We restored this creek.
You know, we're standing here in a completely changed environment. We have large gravel here providing habitat for fish, large woody debris that has moved downstream, and now we have a complex habitat which will continue to become more complex. So it's a really exciting situation, I think, for all of us.
So one thing that's made this project really rewarding is that the staff at Valley Water have been just fantastic to work with. I mean, par for the course in a project like this. It's a construction project, right? And so a million things go wrong that you're not expecting. And that's when having experienced staff that know how to help us get over those glitches and have the flexibility to keep things on budget and on schedule is really key. And this project has just been a textbook example of that. It's been fantastic to work with them.
This creek was so impacted by this concrete, and now it's gone. And now we can sit here and just relax and listen to the creek. Listen to her just kind of bubbling along here in the middle of June, middle of summer, and just feeling like she's come alive again.